with those first 1, 2, or 3 clients, what direction would you give for specifically for service provider entrepreneurs?
It's so hard in the early days because you're hand to mouth. I mean, you'll take anything that moves, and that's usually a bad idea. The best advice, like forget your wallet, forget your needs. You're there 100% to serve them. And if you do that, it works. I mean, and you see if it's not good for them or for you. You just say, I'll have to pass it. But the biggest thing is this likely to end well for the client?
Welcome to Unreasonable Autonomy. My name is Sarah Grace. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and innovators who refuse to settle. Here we dive deep into raw, real conversations with boundary pushers who have pursued seemingly impossible ideas and yet have achieved unreasonable results, whether that's in their faith, relationships, health, politics, yes, even business. All of those conversations are happening right here, right now. So let's buckle up because this isn't about playing it safe. Unreasonable ideas, unstoppable results. Let's go.
My dear listeners, you are in for a treat. Today's guest is Dave Larson, a serial entrepreneur and marketing strategist who's been in the game for over 3 decades. Do the math, my friends. Dave is the founder of Sales and Marketing Technology, where he's helped thousands of business owners cut through the noise and grow their companies. He started his first business at the age of 17 and hasn't looked back since. Here's what makes Dave's story compelling. As CEO of his company for 34 years, he survived 3 recessions, a global pandemic, and countless technology disruptions that have killed off competitors. Along the way, he co-founded New Directions Marketing Research, a firm that works with clients like Disney, Universal, and the city of Orlando. He's the author of 3 books and hosts the SMT Marketing Podcast with over 200 episodes. Married for 40 years with 2 sons, Dave brings both battle-tested business wisdom and real-world resilience to this conversation. Get ready for a fabulous dialogue with the amazing Dave Larson. Let's get talking. Oh, my dear listeners, I cannot wait to introduce you to the incredible Dave Larson, who is here on the podcast today. Dave, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It is great to be here. And in fact, we had to work through even some sound issues, and he was so patient with me. And I'm like, we've got it locked and loaded, which means a great conversation is on its way. And I just want to tell my listeners here, I really would encourage you to watch this on YouTube. Okay. I know that we're on every single podcast platform, but the reason I say that is because I have actually only met you, Dave, once. I met you in Boise at the Prime Mover Mastermind, a month or so ago. And I have to tell you, I felt like I was in a room with my own dad, and that has nothing to do with age or anything like that, but it had everything to do with when I was talking with you, meeting with you, and watching you interact. You had such a giving, steady spirit about you, right? A giving, steady, maybe even a little bit of an unassuming vibe when I met you. And then all of a sudden, Vince is telling me about you, and Brent is telling me about you. And I'm getting all of this information about your successes and the teams that you've built and the books that you've read. And hello, you worked with Disney and like Universal and all these incredible things. And I thought, I want to know what makes this guy tick. So thank you for that experience of just walking in and being like, I feel like I'm with my dad right now, age aside, right? But I just feel that steadiness and like rock solid nature about you. So welcome to the room. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So it's going to be a great conversation. And I really want to turn the bulk of the time over to you. And because people may not be familiar with the work that you do, I mean, can I just prepare my listeners? You've written 3 books, 12 Ways to Get Your Business Growing Again, 48-Hour Author, and Dental Websites Demystified. Like, hello, you're a pro in many areas of your life. What got you started in this whole crazy entrepreneurship, the crazy 1%, as Russell would call all of us? What got you into this world?
Well, when I started very young, let's put it that way, that the entrepreneurial bug bit me early when I was 17, actually. And I don't know what happened. I was listening to the radio and they had some commercials on for a car detailing business called Gem Systems. And I said, I want to do that. And I couldn't believe it. That I wasn't thinking I'm 17. They won't sign you up because you're not of legal age. So my dad had to co-sign for me, and we got that little business going. And I guess from there, one pivotal moment is we were so green at selling that they herded us all into a room and played Zig Ziglar tapes for us on sales training. And I was going, this is great. I just love personal development. I didn't know what it was, even what they call it, but I said, I want more of what that guy's putting out there. So I went looking for that and found Nightingale Conant and all Brian Tracy, like all the folks from way back, and that's just impacted my life and became a lifelong fan of personal development. So that was early on. So, and I was trying to remember, that was like 1978, I think, is the year that all that happened. And so what took me from the world of polishing cars, and I did that through college and stuff like that, but my dad bought an IBM PC, the very first one that launched. He went to Chicago and brought it down, and we got this thing, and it sat there for quite a while. I didn't know how to use it or anything. He didn't either. Nobody did, because there was no training and stuff. I mean, if you think of IBM PC with a green monochrome screen was $10,000 and didn't even have a hard drive in it. I mean, they were ringing the register with that. But I had a college professor came over. He had never seen one, and he spent one day with me going, hey, here's how you turn it on. Here's what floppy disks are, and how to boot the thing up and run the programs. And it, like, from that humble beginning, I wound up going to college and wanted to go into computer science and all of that. And long story short, that after seeing what a true computer scientist was in those days, and ran into the calculus. That was my undoing. I said, I got to change the major. And so I went into business and got into marketing, and that I could just tell, that was the path. So marketing. So I got my marketing degree from UCF, the University of Central Florida, and went on to work at Entree Computer Center selling computers. That was my first job right out of college. And I'd had some computer consulting jobs during college and all that, but it just provided the background for that. And I had a great sales manager that helped me continue to refine the sales skills, but it was not my thing. And it's weird how, like, people come into your life and they can completely alter your path. And I had at junior college, I went to school with Jess Fry is his name. And he wanted to start a marketing research company. And so he goes, Dave, do you want to do this? And his dad, the largest ad agency in Orlando, I think the second largest in Orlando. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Ignorance is bliss. I jumped into it and ran that for 4 years, and we did well with it. That's ones were Universal and were clients, and we had clients all over the place, National Research Group and things, doing The Little Mermaid was one of we did a test of the movies, and we had to recruit an audience and stuff like that. So incredible. Fun times there, and got to meet Michael Eisner. It was very cool.
Ooh, so
it was fun. It was fun. So they obviously, the film was very successful, and I just remember, like, when they screened it for all these kids, it didn't even have color in it. I mean, they were literally testing this. So that's what our job was, to help with testing the movies and stuff. So that went, and it was great. And for 4 years of that, it was fine, but I really I didn't really like it. And when you find out, 4 years of something that it's not what you want to do, I said I got to get out, and I sold my interest to him and my partner and business partner there, and away we went. And but a lot of things can happen as a result of doing that. I was head of the Orlando chapter of the American Marketing Association, and we went on like mission trips to Czechoslovakia. It was together at that time, and they didn't know anything about capitalism, and they decided we're not going to do the communist way anymore, and they needed people to train them on marketing. So we went there, and it was a fascinating trip, but when I got back, that was like the end. I'd had enough. So from there, I said my sales manager from Entree swooped back into my life and goes, Dave, I'm starting my own company, Future Computer System or Future Computer Corporation. Come in, you'll be a partner here. Give me $500. You give you stock. You're in. And I said, okay. And because I had nothing else going on. So it was like, okay, I'll do that. And then it reminded me why I got out of computer sales in the first place. Because that's when the clones and everything came in, and they were very unreliable. Like like these cheap things that you deliver a system to the customer, and it would be dead before you got back to the office, and you have to go back and replace everything. It was something special. And so I did that for a couple of years. Now, that was probably one of my worst decisions to leave that, because I said, here's my, give me my $500 back. I'll give you your stock back, and we'll just part ways. And I'm still friends with him to this day. But then he lands the Walmart account, and that $500 would have been worth a couple of million. So, easy to go. What can you say? So that I watched him and was going, wow, I should have stuck around a little longer for that one. But hey, you got to go. And that's when I decided I want just software, and wanted to start my own company. So I came up with Sales and Marketing Technologies. And it was going to be a software marketing company. And it was for a couple of years until the internet hit. And we had been on there, but there was a dramatic exit to the first phase. There's actually 2 phases of that company. So when I first started out, I wanted to do something for retailers, building databases where they could build a list and then market to it, because that wasn't being done back in that day.
Yeah.
And so we tried to set that up. And from there, the programmer that I tapped to do that threw a disk. This is serendipity for you, or maybe God going, here, I need you to change your path once again. And he sent through this disk on my desk, a floppy disk, and said, maybe you can sell this. And I said, oh, what is it? He goes, it's an SF-254, 255. I said, oh, great. What is that? He goes,
I don't know what that is.
It's a standard form 254, 255, which was a government form that architects and engineers have to fill out to bid on government projects. And they were a real pain. I mean, just awful. And it would let them have a database of their projects, and then they could customize the proposal for the people and then print it out all as one thing in the laser printer back. And then that was like a big deal, a laser printer. Ooh.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't know. And it sat there for a bit. And then I said, well, we'll try it. And I had one of my telemarketers make a couple of calls, and he goes, he called me back like within an hour. He goes, I don't know what this is, but we've got to sell it. I said, why? He goes, the call goes like this. Hey, this is Joe with Sales and Marketing Technologies, and we have a program to do the SF-254, 255. You have what? Send it. And you don't want to know how much? No, I don't care. Send it. And so we got involved with this thing and took it. And I said, tell me about this software, because I knew or yeah, how you sold this thing. Tell me about it. He goes, well, I've sold a few of these. And I said, well, how many? He goes, 110. And I said, well, how much did you sell them for? And he goes, $495. And I went, 110. I knew he wasn't a sales guy. So I'm going, well, how did he do it? And he goes, well, I did a mailing. And I said, like one? And he goes, yeah. And I said, and how many pieces? I'm thinking gigantic. He goes, man, about 500. And I'm going, all right, back in those days, 500 pieces of mail are 50 cents a piece. So raw cost about $250. And he brought in 110 times $495. And I'm going, I have one more question. Why did you ever stop? Like, no, he didn't realize it was a federal form, which all architects and engineers, he only mailed in Florida, but it should have tipped him off when we were getting orders from Hawaii. But it was like a 5-year period. They were trickling in. But I said, well, let me see if the market's still there. And we called, and it was. And we took him from 110 to over 3,600 installs, multiple versions and stuff. And then he sold the company. That was I got a call on Tuesday, Dave, I sold the company. We don't need you anymore. And I have a full house of peeps that are working with me. And he goes, your last shipment of software will be Thursday. And this is 2 days away. So that was my Malox moment when you go, ruh-roh. So I had to take all my salespeople. I either found them something or stashed them where I could repossess them. And away we went. And it was quite the ride. And so we looked and tried to make something else work. A couple other ones, but they just didn't know how to work with a marketing company. So I did wind up going to the like finally, I guess before that happened, we had been testing the internet. I had a meeting with one of my marketing professor friends, and he said, Dave, you got to get involved with the internet. It's going to change the world. Yeah. And this is like way early on. I mean, not like 90, 94 when he said these words, and boy, did he call that one. Yeah. And so we started doing it, but they didn't have secure certificates. So we had to fax orders. Like we put up a website, and he helped us back in those days. And we would fax the documents, and then they would fax back the order forms, and you couldn't have secure certificates, so that like it was you couldn't send credit cards through the internet. I mean, this is how way back. And I'd like to point out that we launched our website the same year Amazon did. It was 95 that we launched that, and I'm quick to point out now they've done a little better than we have.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
They all done a little better than we have, but we still did a lot. And then so we when we saw the internet was going, I had two hires that made all the difference. You got to surround yourself with great people. And I didn't know they were great. I was so green at hiring, like I didn't hardly know how to do this, but I found a young lady who was straight in from Georgetown. This is back like nobody was doing websites. And I mean, I had to sell dial-up and then tell them about the internet because they had never seen it. I mean, this is like you're having to rub sticks together for heat. And so that was like how we got started. And I got very lucky with my first two hires that she would set the standard for design. And then my accountant referred me a gent he needed an online store. And so we got our first web design client, Clemens Equipment. They sold machines that do paving and stuff, roads and things, and they reconfigured equipment. And they were with me almost this whole journey until they retired. And so that was good. And then the store came about that it was turned out to be the Corona Cigar Company, that he had a little business out of his dad's Firestone Auto Center that was, about a 12 by 12 room. That was like Corona Cigar. And we built him an online store. He went with a catalog. He had a mail catalog in the store, and he grew to a monster, like one of the biggest cigar companies. In fact, we won Forbes Best of the Web for cigar companies at that time. So like I got lucky on those hires that it could have been disaster if I'd gotten the wrong.
Sure.
But, get from there, and it just grew, and we just kept going. And I had to borrow money from my dad to handle the growth and all of that. But it was funny because he told an entrepreneur, he goes, look, if you go through this, there's no more, and you're going to have to find a job. And that's terrifying to an entrepreneur. So too funny, but true. I never ran out and paid him back. It was all
really
good.
So you guys you're on equal footing now. You've paid your debts and moving forward. And I'm really fascinated. I actually want to rewind to help set a foundation of this far in your story. Excuse me. You talked about at the age of 17, you caught the entrepreneurial bug. And I'm curious what the motivation was for you at that age to go into entrepreneurship. And is that still your reason for staying in entrepreneurship? Because your dad is right that at some point, don't we all need to face the idea of maybe we just need to get a real job or work for someone else or go after something more secure? Like, what has been your driver to stay in this crazy world? And did that start at the age of 17?
At 17, I didn't know what I was doing. So ignorance is bliss on that. Like, I just knew I wanted to give it a shot. The commercials were fantastic for the gem systems, everybody back to work. And I was, at the time, I think I was a dishwasher at Days Inn. So anything sounded better than what I was doing. So I said, let's do this. And they were really quite good at presenting this opportunity. So that's what kind of lured me into that. And I didn't realize how much the entrepreneur bug had manifested itself in that. Once you work there, it's hard to work for anybody else. In fact, in my Vistage experience, they go, you're basically unemployable. You're, as an entrepreneur, like if it's in you, you are the leader, and it's really hard to work for other people. I can work with other people, no problem. I have to work with everybody in our company, no problem. But there's just something in you that you feel that is like driving you to keep going. And I know early on, Zig Ziglar, like he would go like, you can have anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And you can have it all, like the family, the career, everything. And I bought that hook, line, and sinker, and even told Zig to him one-on-one in front of thousands of people, of course. But I went up and I met him and thanked him for that and the impact on my life. And so it comes full circle a little later in my life.
So I have two questions for you about that.
Yes.
The first is, do you believe that that is true? That if you can help enough people get what they want, you will be able to have anything that you want? That's my first question.
I do. I know I've lived it, that we've worked with, over 4,800 companies, and that's a lot of folks. So with a lot, with over 32 million in services provided, like that's a wonderful thing. And we're still counting. Well, that's still going.
I love this. And I want to push you on this. And I mean, welcome to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. I ask the questions nobody dares ask, right? Here, how much revenue do you feel you have helped other companies bring in? I don't know if I could count it. I know there's a few that have dwarfed us. I mean, if you look at all, like,
in the early days, I mean, when nobody was doing websites, I mean, it pays to be early. I mean, that's another thing. If you're looking for an opportunity and you see something, jump on it. Like, look at the crypto boys that, got in early there. Oh my goodness, if they didn't spend the Bitcoin on pizzas and they still held on to them, my goodness, they did okay. But we had got clients like Kennedy Space Center and Sears and Rooms to Go and the RDV Sportsplex. That was the Orlando Magic facility, the Disney Florida Hospital, public companies like Priority Healthcare. They went public. So what was the value of that? I don't know if I could put a number on it. Some of them sold their business. They worked with us and said, look, he sold business for $20 million after we worked with them and helped them build up a system that had never been seen before. We worked with Ramada Inn, like in the Southeast. So all the hotels and they run a lot of attractions and things, and just huge. And I even have, more and more questions about this, because I look at the amount of clients that you have, the amount of successes that you've had, the diversity that you've had. And we're not talking bootstrap companies. Like, we are talking massive organizations that you've been able to produce results for time and time and time again. And I would imagine that your reputation, just based around being around you, that your reputation matters a lot to you. The integrity, reputation, quality. I've heard you say that word quite a bit, standards, all of those things. Have you ever had an experience with a client that you have taken on that you have underperformed on? So talk to me a little bit about how we can remain resilient, steadfast, instead of throwing hands up. Like, how do you handle when you actually can't perform in the way you want for a client that you brought on? Well, this particular one, I remember distinctly that it was an entrepreneur, and it was Elmo B. Giacomo was the name of the client. I don't think they're still in existence, but he came to us and I said, well, what is your product? And he goes, I have a water dish for dogs. And I'm going, okay. And it was the most beautiful little miniature toilet tank on the back, and you'd fill the water up, and it would replenish the bowl for Fido, so you didn't have to mess with water for a few days. And I'm looking at this thing, and it was amazing. It was a little thing, about yay high, and I said, I don't think we can do this one. I said, I don't think people wake up in the morning and go, today I need a toilet-shaped dog dish. Nobody's searching for that. And I said, you'd be better off going to retail where people could see it, and doing that. Yeah. And he goes, thank you very much for your advice, and let me see. And he went away, and he came back, and he goes, Dave, we're going to do a website, and I want you to do it. I'm going to do it with somebody, and I want you to do it. And against my better judgment, I go, agreed. All right, let's do it. And so we did a beautiful website for him, and I don't know how many he sold. He kept it up for a couple of years and stuff. And I think he might have gotten into retail with that a little bit, but I don't think Elmo B. Giacomo's still there. But I remember we had that in our office for quite a while, and we got many people looking like, what are they doing here? Seriously, with this toilet, like this miniature toilet, like the baby Yoda would sit on there perfectly. So too funny. I'd love to throw that in for a Russell Brunson reference there. But, Yoda fans, we are the chosen. But that was the one that you could see. It wasn't the right channel for that product, and it was true. No, like nobody does search for that, and you have to watch for any businesses that have like competitors that are closer to the customer than you are, like like drugstores and stuff. If you're selling products into that channel, that the websites can help a little bit create awareness, but it's not going to be like the main driver and things if their competitors are closer than you are. So
I love this story about the dog toilet bowl, right? That Yoda can sit on. Shout out to Russell for that, for sure. My next question is centered around your idea of how you set boundaries in the business, right? I'm in a service-based business. You are in a service-based business, right? And so how do you help set expectations with your clients on where your services start and what you're responsible for and what ROI you guys are managing versus what's external, right? And just creating context for everybody. You think of a website, and there are a lot of things before the website and after the website and behind the scenes of the website and automations and CRMs and all that stuff. I would imagine you are not handling the ad spend and all. Maybe you are handling all the CRMs. I don't know. But like there are so many things before and after. How do you set those expectations with clients?
Well, early on, we make sure that there's always a written proposal. So that way we're, it's fully transparent, like what the services are going to be provided. We do full service. So we do help them with, the strategy and the content and the traffic generation, like it's, the whole shoot match. But as far as the business, I want to talk just a second on that.
Yeah.
You start out with the solid base. We run on a system called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, Traction. If you go on Amazon and type in Traction, there's a book on it. And cool. It talks about setting the core values and all of that. And we did that a long time ago. So everybody knows the core values. If your team is clear on that, and we're marching down all in unison, that if you've got your team on track and you've got the proposals written, you generally don't have any issues. And so that has served us well. We put everything in Proposify, the software, and make sure it's there. And we just have documentation. And we also track our internal system. Teamwork is the software that we use to manage everything. And that way it keeps the team on track and the client. And we do a lot of upfront work to really understand what they're trying to accomplish. And that makes all the difference. So, listen to the client. So
okay. Well, I think that's a part maybe that's missed as we get really, really into our zone of genius. And this is what I do. And we forget that we're actually serving a human and that they have a very specific need. And I loved your story about with the dog bowl that looks like a toilet, that you knew in your gut, like, this is not like, yes, this guy could pay us and we could have a payday. But also, I know in my gut, this is someone I'm not going to be able to serve according to the standard that I have set, right? According to the standard that I have set. And so what direction would you give specifically for service provider entrepreneurs with those first 1, 2, or 3 clients, as far as them trying to feel their way through who they really can help versus taking that risk that's actually going to push them and help them figure out new things? Like, what does that look like in your mind?
Well, we are clear on who our customer, our avatar is that we're trying to serve. And it's so hard in the early days because you're hand to mouth. I mean, you'll take anything that moves, and that's usually a bad idea. But it's so hard to say no. But as you grow in confidence and experience and you get a little bit of a sales pipeline going, then you can say, that's not good. And gently, I try to find the right fit for them if we're not it. And that one speaker that talked about, I try to be the last person they need to talk to, because if I can't help them, that I will get them to somebody, the right person for them. So we will resolve for you whether you're problem, whatever your challenge is to get your website or whatever up. I just think and it's always with their best interest in mind. The best advice, like forget your wallet, forget your needs. You're there 100% to serve them. And if you do that, it works. I mean, and you see if it's not good for them or for you, you just say, I'll have to pass it. I mean, there are industries we will not work in and, go away. And those I don't have contacts in like the porn industry and stuff. So I didn't have any place to send them. I just said, I'm sorry, we don't do that. Because in the early days, that was like huge. And there was ridiculous money being thrown around. But we just said that not here, we're not doing that industry. No offense. Like they do what they do, and clearly they didn't need us, and we didn't need to get involved in anything like that. So we have standards that things that we won't do. But the biggest thing is this likely to end well for the client? And if the answer is involving us and the answer is no, then we don't take the project.
Wow. And it's so gutsy in those early days. Like the quote of the conversation for me is forget your wallet, forget it. This is about them, right? This is about them. And the more that we can actually believe that is the right choice, the more success everyone listening is going to have. And I do love that you bring in this idea of morality, right? Morality into your standards. And I know you're a church-going guy. I was looking at your church's website last night, which you built, which is amazing. And that there are those kind of moral standards that you want to bring to the table. And so I'm going to make an assumption here. You talk about your own businesses like sales pipeline and, clients come to you and you think, okay, can we help them? Is this a win for them? If it is, then it'll be a win for us. And you go through all those discussions. When you think about your sales pipeline through the eyes of your clients, there are 1 million funnel builders out there. There are 1 million, probably more, right? There are 1 million website designers. Why do they choose you?
I would say it's usually when they talk to us or find, like a lot of our business comes from referrals. So we come recommended. And if they find us and talk to us, they go, you ask much different questions than anybody else that we work with. I mean, that nobody asks us about this or this or this. And we try to be very thorough in what we do. And then the experience comes through because we have experience in so many industries. We're weird. I mean, like most of the advice they tell you in the early days is to pick a niche and like zero in on that. And that can be good advice. But when we got started, it was everybody needed a website. Nobody was providing it. So we got, I don't know, like 40 plus different industries. And then some, it's easier to find somebody that doesn't need, like, it's very hard to find an industry we haven't worked in, put it that way. We've usually got several examples of that, and not all, big ones. We help small businesses too, like, cause I'm an entrepreneur at heart and I know what that's like. So I love to help anybody, and we just try to find the right technology for what they have going on. I mean, ClickFunnels, WordPress, Shopify, even .NET for custom applications and stuff. So I'd say we're bitextual.
I love it. I love it. And I do love what you said early on about how people say that niche, like riches are in the niches, right? They're in the niches. And so that is always really hard to solidify or understand when you're in a service-based business, right? And so do you believe that the riches are in the niches? That has been, your experience has been very different. So like, talk to us about that concept.
It can be. Like we have done a few niche products where we did one with Softwash Systems. They provide training services and products to people doing roof cleaning. It's the best way to go. Soft washing, you'll thank me if you ever need your roof cleaned. But they're fantastic, and they train the operators and things like that. Wonderful thing. And we built something specifically for the operators. And that's one where, we got over 50 of the same type of business. And you see different things like we got it wired where the websites we built for them were working, and then you'd hit like one area almost identical, and then in another state the exact same thing doesn't work, and you go like, what's going on? And a lot has to do with competition and the skills of the operator. Are they good at sales? Like, there's more than just the online presence that makes the difference. And so it can work, and like we did very well tunneling down on that. But this is when the entrepreneur, like, I am not one that likes the same routine over and over and over again. I like that, and that's me. And I guess that influences kind of, I believe like variety is the spice of life. Amen. I like a new challenge. I have no problem doing more than one website, or more funnel in whatever industry. It's like I let the world sort that out, who comes to us. But you can do well in the niches. And I've seen some people that really get that fine tuned, and they can deliver services more cost effectively. There's some in like dentistry that they do a great job, and they have the whole thing it's a very full service product that they deliver. Now that I can lose on price if they get it that wide. But there's a lot of people that don't want what everybody else has. So ours are custom. So we can do it, and we have semi-custom and we have template, whatever floats your boat, whatever you're looking for. So like I said, the right technology for the right application. So
incredible. That's one of those standards, and how you determine whether to say yes. I also am curious about this approach that you have about asking different / better questions than any other website builder service provider. So just give us a peek a little bit into your onboarding sequence with your clients. What are some of those questions that you are asking them that make them go, these guys know what they're doing? Like, enlighten us a little bit.
It's hard. Like, if somebody's here and they're talking to me, I listen to what they're saying. I was trying to go an example, like just on, setting up their email, like who's the provider, let's look at the DNS to make sure it's set up properly. How's your deliverability on that? And like, what could be holding them back on that? And like how they're running their list and managing it. It's a lot depending on what area we're discussing, but it's usually I have to hear what they're saying to me, and then I know what questions to ask, because we know where all the boogeymen are that are going to jump out of the bushes. And so we try to, point that out. And if you do that enough, if we critique their site, like you can come to us and say, here's my website, and we will give you, a consultation where we'll go over how you can improve it. And usually when they hear that feedback is when they go, wow, like this is different than I'm hearing. A lot of the other companies, especially, foreign outsource, they're more order takers. What do you want? Give me the stuff. I will put it into, a funnel or, a website for you. And that's certainly, if you need cheap, but just remember, you can quote very cheap if you never have to finish it.
Oh gosh, there's another quote. You can quote cheap if you never have to finish it. Oh yeah, Dave.
I've seen some that still chasing the developer 2 years later. And we if you come to us, you're going to get it finished. I had one story where, believe it or not, the person went to jail for 2 years and came out and wanted to pick it up, and we finished it. So that was set the record for the longest development time ever. We didn't know what happened to them.
And how do you explain it? That's not what you have guessed, right? Had happened. Yes. Oh my gosh.
So, but if you come to us, I'm telling you, I can count them in 34 years on one hand how many. It's usually, somebody died in the middle of it and we could not find them and nobody wanted it. Like that's the number of sites we didn't finish in that length of time. So come here, we're going to deliver on your project. So good.
Absolutely. Well, I have just loved so much of your strategic brain through this conversation, and how really the baseline of all of this is your integrity through every decision, right? And I love that you can laugh about losing millions of dollars by giving your $500 back. I think that's fabulous humor you've brought to the table. But I sense that steadiness that I sensed being in the room with you before. And so as I was reading your bio, and I was thinking about, your wife, you're married and you've got 2 boys. How has this journey in entrepreneurship shaped you into being a better husband and father?
Ooh, you learn better organization, because when the early days, they were young kids. In fact, that's why God invented offices, because they started crying and stuff. I had to clear out. And so they've influenced me. And that is one thing that you will have some sacrifices if you really go for it, that the family and stuff. And it's, you have some regrets going, I could have been there more and stuff, but I'm so fortunate. I have a wonderful wife that the kids and stuff were her thing. And she did a great job in raising them. And I was just kind of, there and participating in the fun stuff. But she was a disciplinarian and things like that. And you got to have that yin and yang together. And I was just fortunate to pick wisely on that. And she goes, you are working a lot, so I will handle this. So she took that pretty much off my plate. But the good news is that they still know who I am. Yeah. And I'm just kidding. The one has moved to Phoenix and stuff, and the other one is still with us, but probably going to be launching here soon. And so it's just you learn things. It's just working with people, and your kids are people too. And so you get those life lessons as well, and it works. And the main thing is just enjoy your life while you're living it, because it's not a dress rehearsal. You want to make sure that you get the most out of it, and I've been very fortunate on that.
Incredible. And I love that message that I love that message that this cannot be a solo journey, right?
Yes.
This cannot. And I even think about that moment, whether it was a moment or multiple conversations with your wife, in which there was an acknowledgement of your workload is heavy. And I understand that there's this other part of our life that I can really contribute to, that will create happiness for both of us, right? And I think that there are some preconceived notions and maybe some cultural shifts that are happening around the world that are trying to blur the importance of motherhood, or are trying to blur the importance of being a provider as a husband. And whether you want to talk gender roles or not doesn't really matter. But what has that meant to you, to have your wife come in and say, I see what you're doing. It matters. I understand its load. I've got this. What has that meant to you?
Well, it means the world. She's still with me. So as the kids grew up, No, she works in our company, so she has a finance degree and all of that, and does the accounting and billing and human resources side, and like incredibly valuable. Like I wouldn't be here. I mean, it just call it like it is. I wouldn't be here without my team. I wouldn't be here without her support. And so like you got to have that, is all I can say. And nobody does this alone. I mean, you may feel alone sometimes, but you're not alone. That it's a collaboration. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, right, the mastermind and all these things like that, it's all talking about like you will probably not be successful if you don't involve other people.
Right. And you mentioned that very early on. You just said there are people that come into our life that change its trajectory forever. Right. And you talked about Jess being one of those people. Right.
Yes.
And so I hope entrepreneurs are seeing that that's a holistic quote, right? Like that person may be a mentor that enters and exits and enters and exits. That person also may be a child. That person may also be a religious leader, a spouse, that just change our trajectory forever. And I think that has been such a beautiful theme throughout your life. And so really capitalizing on your experience, what would you try to shout from the rooftops to our entrepreneurs listening on what they need to know about what the spouse is experiencing?
So what's
the advice?
Yeah. Don't, like, it's not a handoff. Like you got to make sure their happiness is included and that they're okay. She put her plans like on hold. We're very different people. She is more security oriented and things like that. And
sure.
And that's what makes, life interesting. The differences. So, but you got to make sure that the people who are important in your life are taken care of, and they come first. I mean, we have like our core principles at the company: the quality, focused, trustworthy, and supportive. That's our 3 core values. And on top of that, family first. And not just for me, because I'm the head of the company, that it goes through the whole company. If they have challenges at home, they do it. They come first. Your family comes first, and that goes through our whole organization. So you got to, because they will be more stable as employees if they've got a stable household. And
amen.
We have that.
And doesn't this make so much sense based upon the conversation we had about how you choose clients and how when you said forget your wallet, this is about them? That also applies to family. Sometimes you've got to forget the business and you've got to forget the wallet, and you've got to recognize that this person's win, this person's success, this person's wellness and happiness has to be the priority. This needs to be a win-win for all involved. You've got all these principles that are strewn through not only your companies, but also how you've built your family and your marriage. And I'm learning a lot. I'm learning some really great things here.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have had such an awesome conversation here. I think we've had such a great mix of just principle-based businesses and also the joy of naivety, right? The joy of naivety and fun and like trying things and like laughing at the failures, learning from them. And also that very solid foundation, which I knew I would get from you, of just integrity and value and high standards, whether at home or whether in the business. It really has been gold. So many moments over with you here today. So let's wrap up this conversation in typical unreasonable autonomy fashion by asking you a couple of rapid fire questions, Dave. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, beautiful. Who would you say professionally has been one of those people that has come into your life and changed it forever?
There's a boatload.
Yeah.
I in person, or like can be like training, like Jim Rohn, like audio, like he has influenced me. I was listening to a little bit of his yesterday, and I was going like, this is like become in my DNA, some of the beliefs and stuff. And Zig Ziglar, like between those two, I can't like make a call. They've both been very, very influential with me, and that actually know Tom Ziglar and the family, like not real well, but spoke at the Ziglar Legacy event. That was pressure. I mean, in front of the family, the redhead, the whole, like his granddaughter, like, and he's had passed, but like that was a high honor to me, and just, it was a memorable experience. But
yeah. I love seeing that journey that it can become so personal there by that experience. So second question is going to be one we ask everybody, and that is, what is one book every single entrepreneur must read?
Well, one of my early mentors was Jay Abraham, and he has this book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got.
I love it.
And that one has more gems in here. As a business owner, it has really the basis of how to think about marketing. I got my marketing degree, and I didn't know about direct marketing until my dad, and my dad is probably number one of, like in the flesh that has impacted my life. And so he bought just what a kid wants right after he graduates from college with a marketing degree is Jay Abraham's Your Marketing Genius at Work. Like, more reading.
Here's everything you still don't know.
It was phenomenal. Like it really, really was. So I don't think that series is available anymore. Your Marketing Genius at Work. It was like a newsletter, and I don't think you can get it, but all the principles that Jay did are in this Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. And they're all in there. And if you read this, you will learn how to market and how to think about marketing as an entrepreneur.
I love it. That one has never been recommended. So that is going to be a fresh idea here for our listeners today. I love it. And our final question in this conversation is, what is one thing that is on your bucket list that you have not yet crossed off?
Oh, my goodness. I think take the family to Europe.
Europe it is. Like European tour, or is there a specific spot you want to be?
Well, Italy, I think, was the main draw.
Yes.
We have friends in the UK, and so might have to do a grand tour.
It's all pretty much one train ride, like besides the UK, I guess, but you could pack it in. I love it. I love it. Well, again, a huge thank you both from me personally and from our listeners for you just really over delivering today and bringing your experience, your moral code here to the conversation as well. You are just as good a person, if not way cooler and way better than I thought when I met you in Boise. So thank you to the amazing Dave Larson. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. If you loved this episode, my guests and I would love to hear about it. Go to the show notes to reach out and let me know what resonated with you or what topics or guests you want to hear in the future. I am here to create for you. Look, I deeply admire your commitment to pushing boundaries and going after an unreasonable life. Keep dreaming big, taking bold steps, and expecting the unreasonable. For more, go to the show notes to dive deeper into the conversations that will keep you going. Thanks for being here.